So I moved to New York in 1999. Gage and Tollner closed in 2004. I think I found out about the restaurant right before they closed. And then in the years following, I started to research it and found out about all the things I missed and how beautiful the room was and how the servers, the uniforms that they used to wear, the food they used to serve here. And I became fascinated with it, but I had no way to go back in time and to realize what I missed. Cut to 3 years ago, and I'm in downtown Brooklyn looking for a space to open a small cocktail bar. That was the idea. Something small I could manage with just a few bartenders. The space we were supposed to be looking at turned out not to be any good. And the realtor said, okay, let me show you something else that I have around the corner. And so she walks us down J Street and starts to walk over to Gage and Tollner, heading straight for it. And I said, are we about to walk into Gage and Tollner? And sure enough, she walked us in, she pushed open the front door, and it was just like walking into a cathedral. It was like going back in time. It takes your breath away. What was supposed to be a small cocktail bar instantly became a big chop house.
Part of the emergence of restaurants come with the emergence of wealth here in New York and Brooklyn. By the 1860s, Brooklyn's actually the third largest city in the country, back when Brooklyn was its own city. So we have Gage and Tollner opening in the height of the Gilded Age. It was founded by Charles Gage, and then he soon teamed up with a man named Eugene Tollner in 1882. Gage and Tollner was open for about 125 years all told. People would come from all over to try the really remarkable food that they would have had: turtle soup, fried oysters, venison. They were known particularly as a fish and chops joint. Well into the 20th century, it really became the place where so many Brooklynites came for their most special experiences: a graduation, an engagement, an anniversary.
This was the third interior landmark in New York City. So the first was the New York Public Library. The second was Grant's tomb. The third was Gage and Tollner. That's how important and how significant this interior is.
In the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, when Brooklyn goes through a period of massive deindustrialization, businesses move out of the area, increasing crowding and segregation in predominantly black neighborhoods. Fulton Street really sort of begins to reflect the racial and ethnic diversity that is Brooklyn. And Gage and Tollner continues to be this kind of throwback to a very different time.
When it closed, it became a TGI Fridays for a few years, and after it became an Arby's for a year, and then it became a clothing store. When I was in it, it was a clothing store. You couldn't see any of this stuff. It was all hidden. I thought it was all gone. But to walk in and to see it, that it was all still here, I mean, it was amazing. I don't think that people thought there was anything left of the original interior. But of course, with its landmark protection, it had to stay.
When we look around Brooklyn today in 2019, we see an area, especially around this, downtown Brooklyn, Brooklyn Heights, Dumbo, Fort Greene area, that is a largely gentrified experience. And so Brooklyn is hot again. Brooklyn has become almost an international adjective representing urban cool.
There's buildings going up all over the place. There's buildings being knocked down constantly. There's cranes everywhere. And there's tons of new people moving in. We did a series of open houses here at Gage and Tollner on Saturday mornings. And we met so many people who remembered coming here.
Gage and Tollner's was a really fancy, schmancy kind of place.
A classic. This was the who's who. This was the who's who of restaurants.
Last time I was in this restaurant, I must have been about 8, 9 years old.
I used to come here years ago with my boyfriend.
This was our romantic place.
I remember that the food here was fabulous.
The salmon was excellent, to die for.
blackened fish.
It was the first place I ever had pecan pie.
Then there was lobster, of course, and then I'm not a steak person, but my friends, that's what they used to have here.
I'm a meat lady.
But the highlight of your evening was when they would light the gas lights while you were having dinner.
It was like going back into the late 19th century.
One of the first things that we had to do in this process after we raised the money was present our plans to the Landmark Preservation Commission.
There's no reason for the hood to go all the way over the sink. I think it's now a 22-foot hood.
22.
And it needs to go 6 inches over the broiler.
This was nerve-wracking for us because you hear stories about the LPC slowing down projects and making things more expensive, and we were scared because we don't have an unlimited budget. Our plan here is really to restore it to the way it was. Are you going to the meeting tomorrow? Is it just Ben? Okay, it's just Ben and Nutty getting together. So we took a lot of time in preparing our plans. We did a lot of historical research. The Brooklyn Historical Society actually played a big role in this whole thing. You're not going to be able to get in there to clean it.
It took me a long time to figure it out.
This is obviously the priority. And we presented it to the LPC at a public hearing. We were scared. When we were done presenting, the commissioners started talking, and instead of criticizing our plan or telling us what we needed to do differently, they started to talk about their fond memories of visiting Gage and Tollner and when they used to go there and who they used to go there with and what occasions they celebrated there. They congratulated us, they wished us luck, and that was all. We started to get the permits within 24 hours. It was amazing.
Today, when we think about the reopening of Gage and Tollner, which is slated to happen this year, we're again talking about a different Brooklyn than we would have seen in the 1990s or even in 2004 when the restaurant actually closed.
For the neighborhood to experience something from the past coming back, it's very significant. I think it helps with the transition, with this feeling of constantly being in flux, that you have this thing that's coming back and will be there again. Helps emotionally with living in a city that's changing so rapidly.
My hope is that when they enter into the new Gage and Tollner, they get a clear sense of the Gilded Age sumptuousness that the restaurant represented so much. The mahogany bars, the gilded mirrors, the Lincrusta velvet wallpaper, the gas chandeliers that the restaurant was so known for. I really hope that they can acknowledge the beauty of the past while even understanding the transformation that took place outside the restaurant's door.
Our goal is that when people come back in here, that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that people forget that it ever closed. That people believe it just has been open since 1879. And what they forget about is the period 2004 to 2019 when it wasn't open. If we can achieve that, then we'll be a success.